The last time this many people reached out to me about Bitcoin, it was 2017. That was leading up to the past peak of almost $20,000. And I was roped into sending out close to $500,000 worth of Bitcoin. At the end of 2017, the Bitcoin bubble started to deflate, along with the public euphoria surrounding it. This Robinhood chart, it shows Bitcoin's price over the last 5 years. Since the past peak, it's been a bumpy ride. Bitcoin dropped down close to $3,000 in 2018, but since it's been climbing higher. In the last year alone, it's up close to 100%. And as a result, it's again catching more headlines. These recent gains are why so many people have reached out to me. I was on the phone just 2 days ago with a 90-year-old who was asking about how to invest in cryptocurrencies. I've overheard Bitcoin conversations in the grocery store, friends have talked about it, and even a family member has reached out about investing in Bitcoin. And I have a pretty small family, no first cousins. If it was larger, I'm sure more people would be reaching out. When an investment opportunity has become this hot, it's usually best to stay away. Now, of course, Bitcoin could easily continue its upward climb, but I won't be buying Bitcoin anytime soon. Instead, I found a better way to gain exposure to cryptocurrencies. It's really a much safer approach. And before I show you exactly how I'm investing, let's take a closer look at kind of what's really behind the cryptocurrency craze. Well before Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies became a mainstream topic, I was doing a deep dive. Over 5 years ago, I worked in Beijing with an alt cryptocurrency company. And after that experience, I became more excited about cryptocurrency potential. But I realized Bitcoin had too many flaws. And it's likely that a more successful alt cryptocurrency will eventually come along and take over, in a sense. In one of my earlier videos, I covered 4 reasons as to why Bitcoin will fail as a currency. I'll go ahead and link to that down in the description box below. So go ahead and check that out. And I'll also link to it at the end of this video so you can just simply stick around. For the most part, the points that I covered were well received, and I got some great feedback. I got feedback like this. This is the best anti-Bitcoin argument I've heard. That came from Chris Russ, and here's another one from BioGaiden93. Glad to see a different view. You got a new subscriber. Thanks for being sensible. I love cryptocurrencies like many of the others who hype it, but truly seeing the downsides will help us succeed in the investing world too. Keep up the great work. Also from Elma Ross. Thanks for such rational information. We really appreciate it. I respond to most of your comments individually, and here again, thank you for all of your sensible feedback. It really motivates me to keep researching and sharing what I learn. So with that said, I'd also really appreciate it if you just tap the like button down below, as well as subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you. Now, most of the negative comments I got came from people who thought I was talking about Bitcoin in all use cases. But the 4 flaws I covered were looking at it from a widely adopted currency perspective. One common theme people pointed out is that they treat Bitcoin similar to gold. They want to invest in it as a way to protect their savings from the government's ever-expanding reach, as well as protect it from inflation. Now, the argument for keeping savings out of the government's reach is pretty solid. Anyone can see every Bitcoin transaction ever made, but we don't usually know who's behind those transactions. That's largely thanks to public and private key cryptography. But on the inflation and maintaining value side, Bitcoin would be a terrible hedge. Many gold bugs fail to realize gold is also a terrible inflation hedge. They're both too volatile. In any given year, 3 years, or even 5 years, and some 10-year periods, their price swings are too unreliable. This is one of 6 reasons why I think gold is a bad investment, at least when compared to stocks. I'll link to that research down in the description box as well. If your goal is to hedge inflation to maintain your purchasing power, Treasury inflation protected securities or TIPS from the government would be a better way to go. Now, the main issue I run into is that most people reaching out who want to invest in Bitcoin don't have the slightest clue as to what's happening behind the scenes or what the real value is. They see it going up and they see other people hyping it, so they simply want to get in on the action. And larger investors, of course, can take advantage of these less savvy investors. Now, of course, you don't need to understand an asset to make money on it, but on average, that'll probably lead to a losing approach. It's really easy to get caught up in potential gains, the gain possibilities, and underweight or completely ignore the risk. So if you're a small investor like me, it might be best to constantly revisit and get a deeper understanding, improve your investment strategies. Overall, Bitcoin's network continues to build, and that's where the real money is. PayPal recently announced its own cryptocurrency service for Bitcoin trading. I think also some other larger cryptocurrencies as well. And that's a huge vote of confidence. And moves like that have really helped push Bitcoin higher. Many companies have stepped in to grab a piece of the growing cryptocurrency pie. It's a trend that's here to stay. And similar to the past gold rush, many winners will probably emerge from creating the surrounding services. For example, some gold miners did strike it rich, but many of the winners came from selling the picks and the shovels, as well as owning the saloons. So one of my favorite ways to gain exposure to cryptocurrency is by investing in service companies, those that already have well-established businesses. And one of my top performing investments is Facebook. It's a proven business model with massive cash flows. This is a huge safety net while it's investing heavily into its own cryptocurrency efforts, such as Libra. The same is true for IBM and many other top tech companies. My most recent investment in Intel even benefits from some Bitcoin mining and other cryptocurrency trends. Sure, these aren't direct plays into cryptocurrency. I'm not going to see an outlandish gain in the short term, but I'm also not going to see huge short-term losses. They're overall just a safer way to gain exposure. And also, this investing approach can be considered kind of cherry on top investing. Overall, I'm excited to see further blockchain application and innovation. I'm an optimist on that end. And for Bitcoin, the new adoption is great to see, but it's got some big barriers to overcome. You can check out that video to learn more. And instead, I think some improved cryptocurrencies will eventually dethrone Bitcoin. It might take some time though. And as we've seen in the past, finding consensus to fork and make improvements is not likely. As always, if you find this video thought-provoking, I'd really appreciate it if you just tap the like button down below as well as subscribe. Thank you.